Welcome to Old Guys Gentlemen Flex Fountain Pens. I think this is episode number 28. And today I'm going to be reviewing the Pelikan 140. I bought this from a guy by the name of... and he sells pens that he refurbishes and redoes the nibs and puts them out for sale, and they're usually sold within an hour to a day. And then he moves on. The prices that he puts out are really, I think, pretty reasonable. I think the only thing I'd fault him on is his descriptions of how flexible the nibs are a little inflated. But then, since that's a subjective matter, there's no way that I know of to quantitatively tell how flexy a pen is. He's sort of taking advantage of it. So if he says wet noodle, it isn't necessarily a wet noodle. This was a wet noodle. But having said that, I'm perfectly fine with this pen. I'm going to keep buying his stuff. Getting back to, this is a Pelikan 140. It was made in Germany. It's a pretty nice looking pen. I think I mainly bought it because I like this kind of body. Shiny stuff with stripes, like this one over here. This is a vacuumatic. I just love that for some reason. But getting back to the Pelikan 140, there's some sites on the internet that help you age these things. And as best as I can tell, this was made around 1964 or 1965. I thought it might have been a lot earlier, but I think the first ones came out around 1957. I think they went up into the mid to late 60s. At least they went to 64, 65. Maybe they went further than that. I don't know. The capped length is 12.4 centimeters. The posted length is 14.1 centimeters, and for my hand, this is about perfect. The uncapped length is definitely writable, but it's just a little bit short for me, and it's 11.3 centimeters. The section diameter is 9 millimeters, which is fine. If it gets down to 7 or 8, it starts to get a little thin for me. And the barrel section's up to 12, so it's a nice pen. It's got filled gold hardware on it, 14K nib. I think what did, you can't really read it, but down there it says extra fine, and he turned this into something like a triple extra fine. So let me tell you a little bit about the nib. So it writes very fine. So what he did is he ground this nib down to a finer point. It's triple extra fine, and it spreads out to 3B+. Now what I found out is not only up at this range does it railroad, but as you can see from over here, I started getting this stuff. And I thought, is that my eyes? Are my eyes getting blurry? What's going on here? And after doing it for a little bit, I realized what had happened is back here, I had sprung the nib a little bit. And in this particular case, it was pretty easy to fix by just, pressing down a little bit like this, and they came right together. If it went more than that, then I'd have to get my nib block out. So it writes with a nice flex. I'm probably pushing it a little bit too far in some of these. It's definitely not a wet noodle. It's not even a full flex. It's probably semi or medium flex. The good news about that is when you have a really flexy pen, let me see here. When you have a really flexy pen like this Waterman glass cartridge pen, you have to be a little careful how far you push it. I mean, just a little bit of effort creates that edge. And actually this one writes pretty well as it is. I don't have to be all that careful with it. But you have to be careful because with the higher flexibility pens, it's easy to spring them. This is not a higher flexibility pen, but I think since the material is from the 1950s or 60s, probably really wasn't meant to flex a whole bunch. But you can get this kind of flexing out of it. So let's write a little bit. I don't know if you can hear that scratchiness, but that's typical of a lot of, when he's done with them, this is pretty much, triple extra fine is almost like a needlepoint, I guess. And so it's going to scratch a little bit. But when you let up on it, it goes right into that nice thin. I think that's one of the nice things you get about a lot of his pens that I buy that he claims are wet noodles aren't, but they still write really well, and they have all the flex that I really need. It's very springy. Pops back right away. So let me write something. Definitely is not smooth, although it'll probably smooth out as I use it more. Gotta throw some capitals here so you can see the flex. It's really about the only time you flex with Spencerian. All right, so hope you got something out of that. Until next time, goodbye.